Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Metzia, page 28a, part 2. With the Gemara, we just finished the Mishnah, so it's the Gemara after the Mishnah with the words Tana Shechene Aveda. My Shechene Aveda. The Mishnah teaches that one must proclaim his find until his neighbors will know of its existence. The Tana taught, one must proclaim his find until the neighbors of the lost item will know of its existence. The Gemara asks, what is the meaning of the expression neighbors of the lost item? If we say that the reference is to the neighbors of the owner of the lost item, he need not proclaim his find. As if the finder knows who lost the item, let him go and return it to him. The Gemara answers, rather, the reference is to the neighbors of the place where the lost item was found. The Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Yehuda says he is obligated to proclaim his find for 3 pilgrimage festivals, and for 7 days after the last of the 3 pilgrimage festivals, so that its owner will go to his home, a trip lasting up to 3 days, will ascertain that he in fact lost the item, and will return to Jerusalem, a trip lasting up to 3 days, and proclaim his loss for 1 day. Apropos Rabbi Yehuda's calculation of 3 days as the duration of a pilgrim's travel from Jerusalem to his home, the Gemara raises a contradiction from a Mishnah in Ta'anit 10a. On the 3rd of the month of Mar Cheshvan, one starts to request rain by inserting the phrase, and grant dew and rain, in the blessing of the years, of Saint Talmud Bracha in Barachalenu. The 9th blessing of the Amidah prayer. Rabbi Gamliel says one starts to request rain on the 7th of Mar Cheshvan, which is 15 days after the conclusion of the festival of Sukkot, so that the last of those who are in Eretz Yisrael on the pilgrimage to Jerusalem can reach their homes beyond the Euphrates River before the onset of rain, which would make crossing the river more hazardous. Apparently, it takes 15 days for those who came from the pilgrimage festivals to return home, not 3 days. Rav Yosef says this is not difficult. Here in the Mishnah, in Ta'anit, Rabbi Gamliel's statement is referring to the duration of the journey during the first temple period, which took 15 days. Whereas there, Rabbi Yehuda's statement is referring to the duration of the journey during the second temple period, which took 3 days. I'm not sure why the dramatic change. I mean, why would it? Maybe they had faster vehicles? I don't know. The Gemara explains the answer. During the first temple period, when the Jewish people were very numerous, as it is written, with regard to them, Judea and Israel were many, as the sand that is by the sea in the multitude, eating and drinking and rejoicing. 1 Kings 4:20. We need that much time for them to travel from Jerusalem to the farthest reaches of Eretz Yisrael due to the wide distribution of the large population. During the second temple period, when the Jewish people were not very numerous, as it is written, the whole congregation together was 40 and 2,360. Ezra 264. We do not need that much time for them to travel from Jerusalem. I guess there was less traffic, maybe. That's what it was. The I-5 was less jammed. I'm just kidding. 405, for them to travel from Jerusalem to the farthest reaches of Eretz Yisrael due to the limited distribution of the small population. Abaye said to Rav Yosef, but isn't it written, so the priests and the Levites and some of the people and the singers and the porters and the Gibeonites dwelt in their cities, and all Israel in their cities? Ezra 2:70. The verse indicates that despite their limited numbers, the Jewish people dwelt in all the cities that they inhabited previously, and the distance to the far reaches of Eretz Yisrael was no shorter during the second temple period. Abaye continued, and since that is the reality, the opposite is reasonable. During the first temple period, when the Jewish people were very numerous, and when everyone was structured in groups and caravans could be found that traveled both during the day and during the night, we do not need that much time to travel from Jerusalem to the farthest reaches of Eretz Yisrael, and 3 days suffice. By contrast, during the second temple period, when the Jewish people were not very numerous, and when everyone was not structured in groups, and therefore the caravans could not be found that traveled both day and night, we need that much time, meaning 15 days, to travel from Jerusalem to the farthest reaches of Eretz Yisrael. Rava said, it is no different during the first temple period, and it is no different during the second temple period. The requisite travel time to the border was 15 days, as the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel indicates. Nevertheless, Rabbi Yehuda calculated 3 days of travel to the border because the sages did not wish to trouble the finder excessively in returning a lost item by requiring him to wait an extended amount of time. Ravina says, learn from the calculation of Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah that when a finder proclaims his find, he specifies the nature of the item. For example, he proclaims that he found a cloak, as if it enters your mind that the finder proclaims that he found the lost item without specifying its nature. We need to increase the period of time afforded to the owner to ascertain that he lost an item, and add 1 day for him to examine all of his vessels. Rather, learn from it that the finder proclaims that he found a cloak. The Gemara affirms, learn from it that the finder specifies the nature of the item. Rava said, even if you say that the finder proclaims that he found an unspecified lost item, nevertheless, Rabbi Yehuda does not require extending the period afforded the owner, because the sages did not wish to trouble the finder excessively in returning a lost item by requiring him to wait an extended amount of time. The sages taught in Braita, on the first pilgrimage festival after finding the lost item, the finder proclaims his find and says, this is the first pilgrimage festival that I am proclaiming this find. On the second pilgrimage festival, after finding the lost item, the finder proclaims his find and says, this is the second pilgrimage festival that I am proclaiming this find. On the third pilgrimage festival, the finder proclaims his find and says his proclamation without specification of the number of the festival. The Gemara asks, and why does he not specify the number of the festival? Just as he specified the previous 2 festivals, let him say that it is the third pilgrimage festival. The Gemara answers, he does not specify that it is the third pilgrimage festival so that one who hears him will not come to confuse it with the second pilgrimage festival. If the finder were to proclaim that it was the third festival, it is possible the owner would mistakenly hear the word second and believe that there is time remaining to reclaim his lost item. Since on the second festival mentions a number, and on the third he does not mention a number, there is no potential for confusion. But the Gemara asks, based on that reasoning, on the second pilgrimage festival too, the finder should not mention the number of the festival. How did I know that they were going to ask that?